Welcome to a very, very special episode of the I Don't Know Shit About Music podcast. What's so special about it? It's the first one. I'm joking. Well, I'm not joking about it being the first one. I guess I'm not joking about it being special either, but yeah. Anyways, this is kind of an experiment. This is, I would compare it to a journal of sorts to sort of keep track of how little I know about music. No, really, this will be a journal type podcast just about what I'm doing in music and everything that's going on around me in music and my thoughts on music in general. So yeah, let's get right into it. So on Friday, well, I guess let's start with a little bit about me. So in case I don't know, just for no reason, how about a little bit about me? Right now, I play guitar and I sing for my band. We are currently called the Wasp. We've been brainstorming some different ideas for band names, but haven't really been able to think of much. We got two ideas that have been bouncing around, but nothing as solid as the Wasp. I guess it's the original one, so it's just been sticking around. But yeah, we have some mock-up logos and everything, but that's honestly not that really big of a deal. We've been playing together since October of 2020. This is sort of a pandemic pet project type thing. Prior to this, and prior to the pandemic, and prior to my shorter hair, I was in a band called the Carmix, and before that, a band called Harbor Drive, which there's not a whole lot to know about it, because it is the past, but that's basically where I got a whole bunch of my experience and my comfort in the music, the live music world or whatever, more so than just producing in my bedroom, which I've been doing since about 2018, and I've sucked at it until about 2020. So that's the way it goes. So, but yeah, up until about now, we've been playing since October with the Wasp. We got some really cool guys. We got this kid named Christian on drums. He's got some cool influences from Queens of the Stone Age and Foo Fighters, so it's kind of a cool little backbeat we got on there. Quincy on the bass, he's super funk inspired, which is dope because so is our organist slash rhythm guitarist Robert. They both kind of play off each other because they're pretty funky, but they still got a different taste in music. Quincy's got that more classic side and everything, and Robert's more of new age. He likes a lot of pop music. So yeah, we got a pretty cool sound, I think, between me on guitar, a bass, Robert on keys, or a guitar and the drummer. And the music's a lot different, I think, and a lot of people say, from the Carmix and Harbor Drive, the previous band that I were in. Previous bands I was in. Wow, how about that? I can't speak. It's very strange for me. Turn on a microphone and just kind of talk. I need to get into it, I guess. But, it'll happen. And I'll stop making so many grammatical errors, hopefully. Or, this will just keep up. But, anyways, yeah, this is going to be, probably... These episodes are probably going to be, 45 minutes or so. Around there, we'll see. We'll see how much I really have to talk about. Can I fill 45 minutes? We'll see. Especially just one person talking. But, once you get going, you never know what it'll take you. Where it'll take you. What it'll do. I don't know what I was trying to say. But, yeah, a little bit more about me. I've been playing guitar since 2008. It was May of 2008. I remember walking in. Well, no, I remember we moved to Texas in 2006. And I remember finding my mom's old classical nylon string guitar. The neck was bowed to hell. I mean, you could barely... Fretting up on the higher frets is quite difficult, but damn it, I managed. So I dicked around with that for about a year and a half or so. I remember before I took any lessons or anything, I kept a Lincoln log in the case with it, because I figured out that if you could put the Lincoln log against the strings and just kind of fling it up and down, you'll get like this weird, like, ghostly effect, which I later found out to be just slide guitar. But I just thought it was funny that I was trying to play slide guitar with a Lincoln log. But in about early 2008, a guitar store opened up nearby me, and I was like, oh, I want to take my mom's guitar there and see if I can get strap buttons put on this guitar, because yeah, I knew nothing about guitar, but I knew I wanted to hold it and like stand up with it and walk around and play it. I don't know why. I don't know what the hell I was going to play. I didn't even know Smoke on the Water at that point. I knew absolutely nothing except the Lincoln Log licks. The Lincoln Log licks, that's what I'm going to call them. But I walked in there, and it's called Dale's Guitar Shop. And I walk in, and there's Dale, this, like, petite, I guess is a way to put it, bald guy with this grand smile, and his blonde Russian wife Olga. They were quite the characters, but God bless them, they were fantastic. But I walk in, and I'm in 5th grade at this point. It's like spring semester of 5th grade, and I'm trying to act all cool, and I'm like, yeah, man, I just want to put some strap buttons on here. I googled what they were called, because I didn't want to just call them like strap holders or the strap thingies. I was like, strap buttons, and I thought it was so cool saying that. And he's like, well, let me see here, and he's like looking at it, and it's a classical guitar. It probably is worth no more than $100. And he's like, I don't know why you would want to strap on this, but it's possible. And he's like talking about how he'd only do the one strap button on the bottom and tie the other end of the strap to the headstock and all that. And I had no idea what he was talking about, of course. But and then I think he also mentioned like the way Willie Nelson held his classical guitar a couple times, where like the strap kind of went around the body. But he's like, do you know how to play guitar? It's like he knew, and I was like, and my mom just chimes in, and she's like, no, he doesn't. And so he's like, well, we offer lessons here, you want to take some lessons? And I look at my mom, and I was just like, could I? And at this point, I remember it was about a year before that. For Christmas, I got Guitar Hero 3 for the Wii, only because my best friend was getting it, and my best friend's mom called my mom and asked her to pick up a copy of it for my best friend, so she could get, because she couldn't find it anywhere, so she could get it for my best friend. And my mom thought, well, if she's gonna get it for her son, I might as well get it for mine. And so I was obsessed with this game from like I was obsessed for a good 3 years, probably, even after I started taking guitar lessons. But I remember like playing through all the songs, and it definitely had a massive influence on the genre of music that I ended up really focusing on and listening to all the time. Because Guitar Hero 3 was Legends of Rock. It was like the classic rock type of thing. I mean, Guitar Hero in general was too. They focused a lot on the older, well, more guitar driven music. But shit, I lost my train of thought. That's why I'm doing this. I want to feel like I want to find a way that I can keep my train of thought going a little better. So I think if I practice at doing these long form things, then I can really get my mind together and get it a little more clear. Water break. So anyways, yes, I got Guitar Hero Legends of Rock 3 or whatever. And before that, the only music I really listened to, I listened to a lot of Green Day. I was a big Green Day fan. And that was just a fluke. You know, one of my friends in like 2003, 2004 showed me American Idiot, and I was blown away. So that kind of where the whole Green Day, I guess, started, and so my appreciation for punk music. There's gonna be people out there, Green Day's not punk, whatever, man. I don't really care. But and then my dad always obviously had on classic rock, and my parents always listened to like oldies. They were big into like soft rock and oldies and stuff like that. So I was listening to everything from Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, my favorite, Sammy Davis Jr., all the way to, like, my mom was huge into Elvis, so that's not all the way, but she was also huge into Elvis, so I was listening to a lot of Elvis, a lot of Electric Light Orchestra. That is so hard to say. Electric Light Orchestra. Jim Croce, I remember hearing a lot. Harry Chapin was one of my dad's favorites, and I'm trying to think. Eva Cassidy was big, and she has such a beautiful voice. So it was a very, like, I don't know how to word it. I guess I would say pure type of music, where it was a lot of instrument-driven vocal music, where, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of pop necessarily in my upbringing of music. Even though my mom did listen to pop, I just don't think I let her listen to it around me. I don't know. Maybe I was always like, oh, play ELO or play Elvis or something, because that was always so much better. But I remember there was a station called WEBN in Cincinnati when I lived there for the first 9 years as a kid, and they would, during Halloween, they would play this song, and this my dad would always show it to me, and he's like, look, it's the song that talks about its dog without a bone, isn't it scary? And he'd be like, the dog without a bone. And I mean, I have this memory from, like, it's one of my first memories, and it was the Doors' Riders on the Storm. And it's crazy because I'm a massive Doors fan today, so maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But I just always think that's funny that I can remember the first time I heard a Doors song, and it was fucking forever ago. But that's, like, kind of my musical background. So, fast forward back up into 2008, and I was standing in this guitar shop, and I was, like, already pretty obsessed with music at this point, just because of Guitar Hero. And I look at my mom, and I'm like, could I take the lessons? And she was just like, sure. I think she was happy that I found interest in something. We had just moved to Texas a year and a half prior. I played a year of baseball because I played a whole bunch of baseball when I lived in Ohio. Like, that was my main pastime. But then when we moved to Texas, my baseball team was ass. We only won 2 games. Our coach was such a pushover, and he'd always make his son the pitcher, even though I could have pitched better than him, and I know I wasn't even a good pitcher. He never played me at a position that I was useful. I was always in right field, and I was like, dude, I'm not this bad. You're making me so much worse than I really am. I was pissed. That was just a really bad season, and honestly, it kind of just shut down baseball for me. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to play again. So I think my mom was happy that I just found an extracurricular that wasn't, like, video games or anything. Although I've never been terribly huge into video games. I don't know. Maybe because of music. Who knows? I guess Guitar Hero. But is that a video game? So yeah, I signed up for lessons on the spot that day, just walking in. And my first one was like the next week or 2 weeks later. And I was so nervous because I was like, oh my God, but I was so excited. And I remember them commenting on the Lincoln log in the case, and they were like, what is this? And I was like, oh, watch. And I did the thing, and they were like, oh, it's like a slide and all that. And I was like, sure, yeah, man. That's what it's like. But yeah, my instructor's name was Keith. He was this big Texas boy, and he loved his blues and dirty rock music, man. Like, and I just think that was just another influence on the type of music I liked and the type of music I started to make. because like we learned one of the first songs I learned was ZZ Top's Lagrange. And I mean, I was living in Texas. I had to, right? God, that is a fucking badass song. You listen to that shit? Yeah. You know, but anyways, he was such a nice guy and he was so patient and he understood the most important thing about teaching a kid music. And that's that no kid wants to learn like manuscript and music theory right off the bat. They don't want to know why things work. They just want to know how to do those things. So we started, he started by teaching me a couple licks he knew. He was like, here's some just cool little things you can do to get your fingers moving. And the first thing he ever taught me was Secret Agent Man. And because it was just on 2 strings. And I remember trying to play it, but I didn't really know what the rhythm was. He showed me, but I guess I wasn't that I heard it before, but I wasn't that familiar with it. And I was sitting on my bed just getting relatively frustrated because I was like, God damn, like, what is this rhythm? What am I supposed to be doing? Because it's like going from the B string to the E string to the B string, like back and forth, but you have to do it in a certain way. You can't just go back and forth. Like, there's some syncopation and everything. And then I'm sitting there just doing it, and it clicks, like over, like, right in an instant, and I'm playing the lick, and it's sounding like it's supposed to sound on my mom's classical guitar with the frets that are an inch away from the strings. But like it became that became something I just played all the time. It was my smoke on the water, definitely. Which I also learned really right away, but I was playing Secret Agent Man more just because it wasn't Smoke on the Water, I guess. And I also learned Back in Black, the intro. Never learned the whole song. Still to this day, don't know the whole song. I could probably figure it out if I wanted to, but I don't know. I never had to. And then I also had to learn some sight reading. I had to do that a little bit. Or I had to learn at least how to read music, which I had already known previously from elementary school. I was fortunate enough to have music classes, and they taught you how to do it, and I learned Every Good Boy Does Fine, Deserves Fudge, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and Face, to learn the notes on the staff and everything, and I didn't really learn a whole lot of theory, but I knew how to read it, and I knew quarter notes, I knew all the symbols, so it was a good start. And I remember the first song I learned was Ode to Joy, and I was like, this is painful. Because I learned all those 3 other songs through the use of tabs, and goddamn, tabs became a massive crutch. But it, that's what happens when you got something that's so much easier than learning how to read music. And today, am I kicking myself a little bit? Yes and no. Like, I'm pretty decent where I can figure out a lot of things on, like, if I learn something on piano, I can do it pretty much by ear or just by translating it from guitar. Which, is it slower than sight reading? Well, yes, but it's faster than me learning how to sight read, so there's that. My allergies are really bad right now. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, so I took lessons there for about a year. Maybe almost 2. I had a couple breaks because 5th grade, summer after 5th grade, I took lessons for probably about a month, and then we went to Cincinnati because back then we were going to Cincinnati for the entire summer every year, and I'm not gonna lie, it was annoying. When you're a kid, like, it's cool and all to travel and see your family, but when you're staying with your grandparents on a street with, like, kids you don't like, or it's either kids you don't like or kids your parents tell you not to hang out with. So it's kids you don't like, kids your parents don't like. It sucks. It's not fun. I remember watching watching the news and hearing about Michael Jackson's death from my grandparents' living room just because we were there for the entire summer. And I don't regret it. Like, I'm not angry about it or anything. This is getting a little childhood trauma. No. I'm just saying, like, I'm just touching on why I wasn't taking lessons for the full summer. But I did take my guitar because we drove, obviously. But God bless, driving from Houston, Texas to Cincinnati, Ohio, 24 fucking hours in a car with your parents and a cat. Like, it was some testing times. But my dad would have the good fortune of flying home after 2 weeks of being in Cincinnati because he had to go back to work. So we'd be staying at my grandparents' house, and you know, I'd be doing stuff. I'd be hanging out with my other grandparents, seeing family and everything, but it just wasn't fun. The good thing is, and I'm surprised I haven't touched on this earlier in this episode, but music has kind of always been around me, I guess, in a way. So it's not like Guitar Hero was the reason I play guitar. Guitar Hero was just like kind of it was one of the catalytic events, I guess you could say. That in a guitar store moving into my neighborhood. Like, those are the two, and me finding my mom's guitar. Those are the three catalysts of the event. I don't know. But my grandpa was in a country band in the 50s and 60s. They were called the Countrymen. And he has such a beautiful voice. And I was like, God damn. Like, I'm jealous. I don't know where he got it. I don't know who he gave it to. And his kids, because none of my mom's side of the family could really sing. So, to my knowledge, I've never heard anybody really sing. I'm the only one on my mom's side of the family that I've seen do anything with music in general, which is kind of sad, especially for my grandpa. But it made my grandpa and I really close. He's my fucking buddy, you know. But he had all kinds of equipment and all kinds of stories of him, you know, being in a band and everything. And he would tell me these stories of him playing country bars and shit like that. And they would have, like, beer bottles and shit thrown at him. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. You know, as a kid, you're like, oh, my God, you were in a band. That's so cool. And he still had, like, a lot of his original gear, which was insane. And now I have it today, which is even more insane. Some of it obviously doesn't work so well, but I'm in the process of restoring his old amplifier, his guitar amp. There's an old Epiphone, I forget the name, Epiphone like Electra or something like that. It's from the 40s, the early 40s. It's a World War II era amp, a tube amp. It's a behemoth. The thing is easily 60, 70 pounds. And it is loud. The volume knob doesn't work. My uncle was a tinkerer when he was younger. He's an engineer now. But when he was younger, he would be taking apart all my grandpa's electronics. So a lot of the electronics didn't make it from, you know, the 70s and 80s. And that includes his amps and a bunch of his other music stuff. But this amp did stick around, and it had been tinkered with. And, you know, I saw all the things, but I'm kind of going off on a tangent just about this amp, but it's such a cool amp that I really want to finish getting it restored. But it's I've never restored anything before, like anything, and this is kind of a big task to restore such a expensive piece of equipment, or not expensive, but valuable. It's incredibly valuable to me personally, and to collectors. But I am the collector. Nobody gets it. It's gonna go in my fucking grave with me. But if it ever works. But anyways, yeah, my grandpa was a musician in the 60s, not a 60s musician. Those are two very different things. Grandpa seems as straight edge as he comes, but I don't know how true that is, because when you're in a band, you know, things get a little wild. But I mean, I never see him drink beer or anything. It's really, really strange. During Lent, he allows himself one beer. Like, I don't know if it's a day or a week. I don't know. But I'm like, this is the only time I see you drink, and it's Lent. Like, aren't you supposed to not drink now? But whatever. I don't know. He's super cool and super wholesome. Never heard him cuss either, except this one time. I don't know what he was thinking. We were driving, and he called some guy an asshole, and I was like, I don't know. I had to be like 5 or 6 years old, and we immediately got back to his house, and my mom and my aunt were sitting there talking, and I was like, Grandpa cussed in the car. And they both looked at me and did not believe me at all. And I was like, no, he really did. He said a-hole, and he called some guy an a-hole. I remember. I can tell you the street I was on. I remember this so clearly. I can tell you the car he was driving, the street we were on. I have no idea where we were coming from. I know that much. Probably someplace. It might have been the park, based on what street we were on, but this is a very vivid memory in my head, because nobody heard him cuss. And when I came home and said that, they lost it. They were like, you're a liar. You're lying to us. And I was like, no. And they asked him, and he admitted to it. And I was like, yes, some validation. Because anytime I catch either, like, especially my aunt and my mom, anytime I catch them on some bullshit, they deny it. They're the original gaslighters. But yeah, so music has always really been around me, because my grandpa would also always pull out his guitar, his ukulele, which I have now. It's from the 50s. He gave it to my grandma, and then when my grandma passed, he let me have it. And then he also had this old keyboard. Had to be from the 80s. Just by looking at it, it had to be from the 80s. It was like, it had pastel green and pink on it. The whole case was black. It was kind of cool looking. But it was super like almost Blade Runner like. And he would try to teach me things, and all I really learned on there was Mary Had a Little Lamb. I didn't really know much else on piano, but I did have a little keyboard at home. I had to have around 30 something keys, and you couldn't press more than 2 or 3 keys at the same time or something like that. I don't know on mine at home, but I remember just listening to songs by ear and just kind of fucking around with it, trying to play all the right notes, having no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know the difference between the black keys and the white keys. The Black Keys are a good band. I don't know what the white keys are. But he would try to teach me things, and I didn't really learn a whole bunch. I think I was just too young, and I just wanted to fuck around. I would always sit. The guitar was way too big for me, so I would like sit in my grandpa's recliner and rest the guitar on the armrests and just strum it like fucking nonsense. But yeah, definitely music has always been around between my parents and my grandpa. And then my dad's parents also had incredible taste in music. I think they loved the Rat Pack, so of course that's where that comes from. But they also loved Tom Jones. And between my dad's parents and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Carlton dancing to It's Not Unusual, I think that pretty much solidified my love, that I was just gonna love Tom Jones forever. And to this day, like, I will just dig some Tom Jones. But so that's like the basis of my music taste. A little strange, I think. And then I used to get like Kids Bop CDs, and I remember the Kids Bop CDs I had they were basically meme compilations. Like it was All Star by Smash Mouth and what is it, Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne on the same CD. I was like, I'm looking back, it's just a meme comp. That's all it is now. It's no wonder people my age were making meme comps on YouTube and shit like that. We were raised on them, But let's get back up to speed here. I'd also listen to like the Now That's What I Call Music compilation albums, and those found me some really good songs. Like that's why I found Take Me Out by Franz Ferdinand, and Take Me Out by Franz Ferdinand. No, I don't know, I'm at a loss right now, but I remember liking some of the songs on there. I also listened to some rap songs that were on those CDs that like I still remember now, like "Locked Up" by Akon. Oof, what a classic. But anyways, yeah, I started playing guitar in 5th grade and learned some shit, and then we went. I learned for a month. We went to Ohio, and I was showing my grandpa what I learned. I learned power chords, and I was playing power chords and everything. And he's like, "Oh, I totally forgot about those," because he's a country guitarist. Like he's not looking that shit up. He's trying to figure out how to play minor blues bullshit, which now I love. But man, dude, I just keep losing my train of thought. This is fantastic. Anyways, we get back to Texas, and I fortunately started back up with lessons again. I was super excited. So 2 months away, a month away, however long it was, and I was back at it. So that, I think that was a really good sign. And then about a year later, I was just dicking around on. I had an electric guitar now at this point, and it was the Fender Starcaster from Target. It was that $200 starter kit with like the 10 watt amp, and it sounded every part of it sounded like shit, But I mean, I played it recently. Well, I took it apart recently, but I played it before that, and the amp and the guitar, and you could make it sound good. You could fuck around with the tone a little bit, and it could probably sound pretty cool. But you have to know what you're doing, and a kid does not know what the fuck he's doing. I always had that goddamn overdrive button pushed in, and I was always just strumming as hard as I could. It was just destined that I was gonna play rock or punk music. But so I was sitting in the like the family living room thing, whatever you want to call it. There was a computer there, so maybe a computer room, office, I don't know. And we were watching TV, and I think it was Cheers was on, and it was the ending credits came up. And I was just kind of like fooling around on the guitar, and I was trying to match the melody of the theme song, and I had no idea what it really was. But my mom looks at me and she's like, "Did you practice that? Like, did you learn that somewhere? Did you look it up?" And I was like, "No, I was just kind of like diddling, And she's like, "I don't think you need lessons anymore." And to me, I was like, "But that's my buddy. That's Keith. Like, I don't want to admit, like, I had a lot of fun with him, I learned so much with him. We learned Welcome to the Jungle together. We learned Talk Dirty to Me by Poison. All kinds of hair metal shit we were learning. It was hilarious. I learned pretty much the entire set list from Guitar Hero 3. Everything from Slow Ride all the way down to 1 by Metallica. I was learning everything. I tried through the Fire and Flames, but fuck that shit. Right? It's all computers and MIDI, I bet. But she's like, "Yeah, I don't think you need lessons anymore." And I was like, "Oh, okay, you can take me out, I guess." Like, I was bummed, but it's not like I was going to stop playing guitar, right? So that Christmas, I ended up getting my first real amp, and it was the Line 6 Spider. Classic. You turn that shit to insane. And that's all I had it on, was insane or metal. And maybe I'd use Clean for 1 by Metallica. But yeah, that's a good background, I think, of where my music started. Where it ended up going, I was in a band in high school, and this is definitely a story for another episode. It didn't last very long. We played one show, and our bassist wasn't even there, and then he got really bitchy because he wasn't there, and I was like, "Well, you shouldn't have gotten grounded, you idiot." But that's what it is. I played a couple gigs throughout high school, mainly a yearly St. Patrick's Day block party gig, where they just needed some live music, and that ended up being the first show with that band. That was the first show I ended up doing. And then the next year, I did it with this other band in high school I jammed with, the Funky Monks. And the year after that, I think I did it with this kid named Matthias, or Matt. I use both interchangeably, who is my ex-girlfriend's brother, who ended up actually being my bandmate for a good almost 2 years later down the line when I went to college. So fast forward to college, when I got to college, I started dicking around with this little like Digitech board I had. It was crap. It's really bad, but it gets the job done, and it's got a USB port on it. So I plugged that into my computer and I downloaded Audacity, and I just went to town. I wanted to see everything I could record. I remember doing one of the first full things I did was the intro to Sweet Child of Mine. Like every part, I did every guitar. I did the lead, I did the rhythm, and I did the bass, just to see how it all could come together. And I was like, okay, like this is a lot of fun. And then I think I really started to like audio production just because of that. I was no good at it, and I had no right doing the things I was doing. And I had no idea what I was doing, but it stuck, and I was studying undecided business at FIU in Miami at that point, and it wasn't even 2 months into school, and I was like, I don't want to go to FIU. So I had a couple friends up at UCF in Orlando, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go up there. I think that might be a little cooler. So I remember I still have the picture on my phone. I remember sitting in my desk in my English 101 class, and I was applying to UCF, and I took a picture with the FIU geotag on Snapchat and said making moves, and it was the application for UCF. I got in, and I was so happy. I wasn't worried. I wasn't that worried, but I was ecstatic that I got in. I remember that day very clearly as well, and that was just a massive change of course. So I ended up moving in August of 2016 after living with my girlfriend for a summer, because my parents had moved to New Jersey in May of 2016. They said, okay, you're moving out, we're moving out. So my dad got an opportunity to go work up in New York for a little bit. So they moved up to New Jersey because it's close enough, I guess. Taxes are cheaper or something like that. I don't fucking know. But in about 2016, that first semester, my roommate David and I, we made an album. We started a writing duo, and it would just be us getting stoned and writing the stupidest shit. And it was always about people in our friend group. And we ended up calling our writing duo name Mazel Tov Cocktails. Not entirely original, but I thought it was pretty damn funny. And we wrote some silly ass songs. Like we had one just called Furman's Room, and our buddy's name is Furman, and we would always just hang out in his room for whatever reason. So it was just like, I want to go to Furman's room. Like that was the whole song. And then we had one, we had the girl with the dragonfly tattoo, about some girl that had a dragonfly tattoo that was flirting with Furman, the same kid, and he didn't want any of it just because of her dragonfly tattoo. So it was just a whole bunch of silly shit, and we ended up calling the album Furman's Room, and the cover was his door with he always had a Star Wars action figure like on the door frame, so I forget what's up there, and because it's been so long since I've seen it. But that was my first whole experience with producing everything from like guitar to vocals. I was programming drums to the best of my ability, and by programming drums, I mean I had my Casio keyboard plugged into that Digitech board going into my laptop, and I was hitting the drum setting on the Casio keyboard. It sounded like trash. It sounded really fucking bad. But that's where it started. I had the microphone. I plugged the microphone into the board as well, because that was my only audio interface, and I still haven't gotten an audio interface legitimately. There's one I've been using for the past like 3 years. I stole from our drummer in Harbor Drive. Like, I don't know why I never got one. I still need to. This thing is a piece of crap. It's a first gen Focusrite, and it constantly crashes. I think that's why Josh never asked for it back. I don't think he wanted it. He probably knew how bad it was. But um, where was I? God damn. Coming up to college and making music. Right. This episode's probably gonna go to an hour, but that's fine. It'll be the first episode. How about that? I mean, it is the first episode. But yeah. So that was the first type of production I did, and it was just a fun experience. I remember we did a whole bunch of shit for it. We made the album cover. Then we had Furman come in and interview us, and we recorded an interview. And I made him write questions for it and everything. I wrote a couple questions for him to ask us, but I was like, nah, you got to come up with some questions. And he's like, you're making me do this. And I was like, I know, but you have to. And he asked us some stupid shit because he was awkward. He was just as awkward talking on a mic too. And so he looks at David and he's like, David, you're a pretty smart kid. You take hard classes. What is it like writing music? And he's like, I didn't write any of it because I think he played like French horn or something in middle school, but he didn't know any type of music, he would just I would ask him if this sounded okay. I was like, does this sound good? And he's like, yeah, it sounds fine. I died when he asked that question. I was like, it took you this long to formulate that piece of shit. Oh gosh. Water breaks are important. But yeah, so then in about was this 2018? No, I think it was 2017 is the first time I really got back into it. I got a mini, what is this called? A Akai MPK mini thing. It's $100, and it's got like 8 touchpads and I don't know how many keys. Not a whole lot, 20 something I think. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna start producing more shit with this. And the first thing I made was this highly experimental, which is just keyword for absolute garbage. Like electronic track. I found this really cool setting on the synthesizer that I got for free with the keyboard, and I was like, that sounds cool. And so I just started playing like the same 4 notes over and over again. And then while I was playing those 4 notes, I would adjust every knob that was on it just to see what everything did. And that became the first song I ever put on Spotify. It's no longer up there because I put it up under the Wasp, because that was just the name. I stuck with that since the beginning. And I remember Matthias, the guy I ended up being in a band with, he texted me and he's like, dude, what is this? Because of course I posted about it on my Instagram and I was like, go look at my new single, and I was like, this is crap. I mean, it wasn't even in any time. I didn't have a metronome on it or anything. And so I remember trying to listen back to it and it just feeling so awkward. I just released it. I was like, this is good. I'm going to release it. Oh my God. I don't know what I was thinking. And then shortly after that, I re-recorded Girl with the Dragonfly Tattoo and released that. And that was also just shit. I didn't record to a metronome because I was like, back in the day, man, they didn't use metronomes. They just jammed and felt it. But back in the day, it was the whole fucking band jamming at the same time, so they didn't need to worry about it as much. When you're going back and trying to lay, overdubs and shit on something that's not in any time, it's hard as fuck, and you're not going to be able to do it. And so I was just like, oh God, what a mess. It makes me cringe looking back on it. But then I learned a little bit about music production. And I learned that a metronome is 100% necessary. And I taught myself the E minor scale. And I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my God, E minor is so cool. And I made up this really simple bass line that was just, it was like a dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum. That was it. And it would just like repeat over and over and over again. and then I laid some guitar on top of it, and then I laid an organ on it as well, and then I put on like a lead guitar, some more guitar, and it actually ended up being really, really solid. And I've jammed it with my current band now a couple times too, but it's just like a funky instrumental track, and it ended up working really well. And then there were I released a song called Eye to Eye, which we still play today. We've played it in the current era, we've played it live now. And that was implementing those two things, using the time, playing in time and playing in key. And then I managed to put vocals on it. I don't know, I think I just recorded vocals again through the guitar board. I also had no idea what compression was, and I had no idea how to use it, so my vocals were always very quiet and very unintelligible. I mean, everything was pretty much like that, but it was a slow process. And then I think I ended up releasing another one, Stuck in the Desert, which was, I mean, looking back, I just cringe. But I mean, doesn't everybody do that? Doesn't everybody just look back on their young art and they're like, that's cringe, bro? Yeah, because you sucked at it. That's why it's cringe. But you were getting somewhere. I don't know. I took down most of it. I took down everything except Desert Drive from those 4 songs. And then I put out in a little EP. I had a remastered version of Eye to Eye on there with better recorded vocals. And 4 other songs that don't even get played. I don't even think about those songs, really. They were just something I did, and they weren't, I don't know. I don't really care for them now, It's one of those type of things. But after that, I took a massive hiatus, because at this point, when I released that EP, I also released an EP for my band, Harbor Drive. So I was doing a couple things at once, and then I started to just put more focus into Harbor Drive than the Wasp. So go back to Harbor Drive, and that was like, let's see, that started in 2018. So around the time I dropped Eye to Eye, I guess, a couple months after I dropped Eye to Eye, I broke up with my girlfriend, and then her brother texted me to join a band with him. But it's fine. It was somewhat amicable or whatever, and so I was like, yeah, dude, I'm down. We'll jam. Like, I knew this drummer who I tried to jam with prior, named Josh, and we got together in Josh's garage, and we just started jamming. Matt he just released like an 8-song EP. I don't know if LP is 8 songs really long enough? I don't know. I guess so. Yeah, who knows? It can be as long as you want. But he just released this little thing, and I mean, it was really 7 songs because he had like an acoustic version of. Okay, I'll stop. But he's like, I want to play these songs live, and I was like, I'm down to play live. Like, I love that. I haven't done it since I lived in South Florida, so let's go for it. And we practiced from August of 2018. That's the first practice we had, and by January we had a gig, and it was at Austin's Coffee in Winter Park, which hopefully, if you're listening to this in the future, it's still there, because right now they got some shit going down where they might get evicted or something. I don't know, because of the pandemic, And if you're in the future, if you're that far in the future, there was a pandemic in 2020, by the way. Just some Martians from the year 4000 listening to this. But yeah, that was our first show. We played with this band called Castafellas, and Boy and Polish were the 2 bands that played with us. And the guys from both those bands actually ended up being in our social circle a lot. Which was pretty crazy. Pedro, the drummer for Castafellas, ended up drumming for Harbor Drive. Spoiler alert, we fired Josh after a while. And Pedro started drumming for us from Castafellas, and then There's this guy named Jacob who played guitar in Boy and Polish. He played guitar with Harbor Drive for a little bit. It was all, the whole fucking thing so incestuous. But actually, while we were auditioning new drummers after we fired Josh, we auditioned Christian, who's the current drummer for the Wasp, and that's where I found him. And I remember thinking, he's a solid drummer, man. He does what he needs to do. Like what's the big deal? I was down to keep him, but I don't know. Matt was so indecisive, and he really wanted Pedro, and to be honest, so did I. Pedro's a fucking phenomenal drummer, but yeah, that's a little tidbit on how I met Christian, in case I don't touch on it later. All right, I had to take a allergy pill. Oh my god, my throat is so itchy. Allergies right now are god awful. This podcast is brought to you by, I don't know if I can say that. Anyways, where was I? I was talking about that first gig. So that was our first gig, and this whole Harbor Drive story should just be another podcast. I'm just trying to go over the backgrounds, So I met Christian, and then in Harbor Drive, there started to be some frequent lineup changes. We had Jacob, the guitarist from Boy and Polish, come in, and then he left. And this was after we fired Josh. Jacob came in, then he left. Then we fired Max. Then the band broke up. Then it became the Carmix, and it was me, Matt, on bass, but he was still singing, and Cairo, this kid from a different band, on guitar, and Pedro on drums. And that was pretty fun, because we were really fucking good. We'd tear shit up. But honestly, it was really fucking annoying. It didn't feel like a band at all. It didn't feel like it was a bunch of friends making music. It felt like a bunch of coworkers, disgruntled coworkers. I mean, maybe I was just the only disgruntled one, but that was because I had fun in Harbor Drive. I felt like there was a little more camaraderie. But now, in the Wasp, there's tons and tons of camaraderie. I mean, we play video games that we fucking squatting up on GTA online and shit like that. But yeah, these guys are really fucking cool in the Wasp. I'm having a good time, But that's kind of the background. I played my last show with the Carmix February 18th. I don't know, early February or mid to late February. I think it was 21st actually. I played the last show with them on the 21st, 23rd of February at Respectable Street in West Palm Beach, and I left right after our set. I was pissed. I didn't like the set. I didn't like where we were playing. Sound guy was a dick. She cut our set, and so he cut my cover of Purple Haze, and that was like the one song I got to sing all the time. And I was already kind of feeling like I wasn't really welcome in the band, I guess. I don't know. It was very strange. It was very like almost hostile feeling half the time. I don't know, or like a very like you're a temporary player or something like that. I don't know. It just didn't feel comfortable. Didn't feel necessary. Definitely did not feel as comfortable as Harbor Drive. So I was just really getting short with it, and I was like, all right, I'm out. And I didn't play another gig with them for a month. And not even a month later, the pandemic hit. It hit. We knew what coronavirus was since like December or November, but it hit, and we everything got locked down. I mean, Matt had already moved back to South Florida. That was a whole other thing, and so we were just like, all right. But like I said, this whole story is just different. Anyways, the pandemic really kind of opened my eyes, and it really. I mean, I feel like I'm coming out of this pandemic a much better person going in, and I feel like if you're not, you fucked up somewhere, because you had so much time to get things together with this pandemic. I understand some people had economic hardships and stuff like that, but those that were fortunate enough, and I'm incredibly fortunate to stay somewhat comfortable. There was uncertainties and everything, massive furloughs and getting layoffs and everything, but I'm very fortunate to have been doing just fine through this. In fact, I got a decently paying job and everything through this. So, like I'm saying, if you have a safety net and you were able to make it through without worrying, and you're not coming out on the other side, maybe this is virtue signaling, but you're not coming out on the other side a better person, like, what the fuck do you have to show for an entire year? You know what I mean? Like, you had a year to do anything. So in that year, I think everybody had the chance to be super introspective and really get to know themselves. I spent a lot of time alone. Everybody did. Quarantined and locked down, you know what I mean? So I think you had to figure out what you wanted. And I knew what I wanted. I didn't want to be the Jason Newsted of my band. You know, I didn't want to feel like I wasn't respected. I didn't want to feel like I was just a temporary piece, you know, like a temporary fix, and they were gonna look for something that would work better in the future. So in I don't even know what month it was. I guess January, just 2 months ago, I texted the group chat and I was like, well, I called Matt first because he's still my close friend, and I was like, dude, I think I'm gonna leave the band just because of everything going on between the pandemic and you know, you live in South Florida, I live in Orlando, Cairo's never answering his phone, Pedro lives in Boynton or some shit like that. Like, we got our shit's fucked up. To quote Warren Zevon. But I quit. I left the band and I got to focus full time on the Wasp again. I was back on that. I was already focusing on it over quarantine. I dropped 2 songs, Wannabe and Tell. Wannabe I don't even like anymore. Tell, I think is gonna stick around for a while. That's a really good tune, I think. And I made a really cool music video for it. Maybe I'm just sucking my own dick here, but I liked it, damn it. And I started the band in October, and I posted on Reddit. This do be a Reddit moment. I posted on r/UCF, my college subreddit, in October. Like some bullshit like quarantine got you bored or something like that. I was like, why don't you join a band? And I put like a whole paragraph about myself, and I linked the music video I made to Tell. And I got a couple hits on it. A couple people, like 4 or 5 people responded, I think. And I ended up only taking 2 of them to even an audition at my house. Like, I didn't even audition the other people. I was like, all right, this is fine. And honestly, it just kind of worked out. You know, it was super risky of me to do it like that. But, you know, I got Quincy and Robert out of it. So I can't complain too much. They're both very capable and very smart musicians, so they're fun to jam with. And we started practicing. We practiced once here at my place, and then we started going to the stage. There's this like stage thing next to the arena, like the basketball arena on campus, and we would practice there. And people would be like, "Are you putting on a show?" And I was like, "Nah, this is just practice," because I didn't want to bother my roommates all the time by practicing there, and by practicing at the house and everything. And then Robert's like, you know, we can go on the garages, and I didn't know that the garages on campus had plugs in each of the corners. So, you know, we started practicing on the roof of the garage. We've gotten sunburnt so many fucking times. I got this really bad hat sunburn one time, and it was the same day I had a first date. It was awful. Looked like I had the Burger King logo on my forehead. But Jesus, we've been playing for a couple months. We got our first show in January. I did it all myself. I was like super proud, you know. And we did a pretty good job, I think. And then we just played another one for St. Patrick's Day on March 19th, even though it was March 17th. And it was a good time. It wasn't as good. It was kind of a shitty set because we went on really late. The band before us took their sweet ass time to go on, and they were just the guy said, "All right, thank you. This is our last song," and they played it and everything. And he's like, "I'm just fucking kidding. We don't make set lists." And they played like 3 more songs, and I was like, "You fucking bastards." So I was just really irritated by that point. We were all tired, and it was just a super wonky set, man. So, and we recognized it. We're all very mature about it, which is awesome. I'm so happy how patient and mature we are with each other. That was something about. Never mind. I'm gonna try to not talk too much shit on here, cause this will be just posted. Like, I'm just gonna see where this goes, cause it might go somewhere. Who knows? People might want to listen to me talk about music. I don't know why. I'm nobody right now. And there's the chance I'll remain nobody for the rest of my life, but one can only hope for something, right? So we've been writing some songs together and everything, and that's a whole lot of fun. But yeah, that's pretty much the story up until now. The very broad overview of the story up until now. It only took an hour. You were very patient on this, and I want to thank you so much for listening to the first episode of the I Don't Know Shit About Music podcast. Actually, here's a little after credits for the name comes from an inside joke from my friends. My roommate and I, David, the one and I who wrote what the fuck am I trying to say? The one I wrote Molotov cocktails with, Jesus Christ. And me and him always talk about music and everything, and other people sometimes will try to like chime in something, and we'll just debate with them, because that's like what we do, and or something like that. It's been so long, but I forget who originally said it. He was just like, "Oh, well, I don't know shit about music, so I can't even talk about it." And it just stuck, man. Like, that we just hear about it all the time. So now it's, I don't know shit about music. I don't know. Was that a good tidbit? Probably not. But yeah, I want to thank you for listening to the very first episode of I Don't Know Shit About Music. I'm the host, Nick the Wasp, whatever you want to call me. I don't know. Just Wasp. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe any other name. We'll see. But I will see you next week for episode 2.